Hello everyone, how's it going? Dr. Incompetent here, and let's resume our complete beginner's guide to Stellaris, shall we? We've got our tiny little empire here, and we're trying to stretch these blue borders. And to do that, we're going to need to keep exploring and surveying with our science ships, and also raking in the resources. Now, you can see right here, this, I always call it the Lego brick icon, which is basically means you finished building something, and this was the mining station that we finished. You can right-click on those notifications to get rid of them if you would like. I'm going to push M to go into the system view, and you can see we have a few more resources we're looking to gather. We would like to get, for example, the energy credits from these moons of Jupiter, Io, and then eventually the engineering research from Europa. And then every single resource within this system will be being exploited by our machinery that we can see. And again, the reason you know that is because the green numbers under the resources mean that you are actively acquiring them. And if you mouse over, let's just say minerals, for example, you can kind of see how many you're producing and where they're coming from. So they're coming from stations, which are mining stations. And I'm looking right in the tooltip under produced. There's base. Okay, we're getting 20 base. Then there's 13 that are coming from mining stations. And then we're getting 22.11. Sometimes the mathematical precision is pretty hilarious, from jobs, which means people who are working on our planet. So I'm going to kind of unpause the game, and while we're doing that, we're going to just go at nice normal speed. I'm going to push 1 on the keypad to open up our planet. We looked at this briefly, but we did not talk about this screen, and I just mentioned the planet and the jobs. There is a ton to dive in here. I don't even know if we're going to cover it all right now as we're playing, but the things that you need to know about your planet, we're going to move through this screen here. So you can see by mousing over any of this stuff, this is our planet, this is our capital. And
construction complete.
This window here kind of indicates what type of a world this is. And I'm actually going to pause it while I talk about this because the construction ship is done. You can see they'll give you a audible notification. The Lego brick is blinking up here. We finished the mining station on Io, and I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that. And you can see in the outliner, our construction ship is red and ZZZ, meaning it has no job to do. Now, just from this screen, if I wanted to, I can just click on my construction ship. It'll close the planet screen, bringing up the construction ship window, and I can then just right-click Europa and say build a research station for 100 minerals here to get those 2 engineering research. Now, if there was a lot of jobs to do, if there were a lot of resources out there to gather, I would not go after this at a high priority because, you know, low numbers, 1, 2, 3, just not that attractive. And I'd rather want to try to get something that was producing far more of a resource as fast as possible. But I don't have many options right now. We haven't even surveyed any systems or built starports in them. So I'm just going to go ahead and get this. So, I mean, might as well. And now they have a job to do, and they're going to stop bothering us. Now I'm going to push 1, or you can just go to the outliner on the right and left-click on Earth to get to this screen. Now, the capital is giving us special benefits based on, like, the designation you give to the planet. Now, this is our planet, because this is the only one or our capital, it's the only one we have planet-wise, so it's going to be the capital. But you can specialize planets, you can give them roles, and based on the decision you make when colonizing and setting it, it will give you different benefits, and you can mouse over this to get the tooltip. So we get extra stability here, extra amenities, as well as governing ethics attraction, automatic resettlement, destination chance, and resources from jobs plus 10%. Now, resettlement only happens if we have too many people, like more people living there than jobs are possible. Then they might want to resettle to another place to try to get a job. But that's not going to happen for quite some time, so we don't really have to worry about that. This is a continental world, which is important for what type of a world it is and the habitability of it. And then over here, we talked about this last time, the planet size. It determines how many districts the planet can support. And this is, 18 size. This person is who is the governor or who's running this particular planet. Currently, it's our Minister of State. It is not our president. So if we go into the government tab here, the president, Dolores Wanga, is running everything. So she would be in charge. If we had 50 planets, she would be in charge of all of those. And then each planet itself can have a leader for it if you choose. And currently it's our Minister of State. So he's doing this job. And you can look at him and you can mouse over their leader traits to see what they're doing for us. And, he is really, really helping out as the Minister of State. And you could kind of just see the great benefits he's giving us. Now down here, but also, you see that your people who are leaders get experience and they can level up and they get traits and benefits as they do the job more and go through things. So this little bar down at the bottom, I believe, is their experience bar. Okay, and prosperous unification is a benefit that we have here that will expire in 19 years. That's just making everyone feel fantastic. So we're getting a big boost for a while. Now, on the planet, you have districts and you have buildings. So here's the districts on this box, and here's the buildings down here. To understand what's going on with anything in this game, you just mouse over it, and you get an idea of what it's doing, how it benefits you, and the tooltips will even sometimes give you a summary of what they are or how you can improve them. And the idea is basically that city districts provide housing for people, and they allow them to have different jobs as clerks. So there is a whole hierarchy of labor. It's not just every empty worker can go do every job necessarily, but it's rather that there are specializations, and different types of workers do work in different buildings, produce different goods, and operate along a hierarchy that you can see in the population tab at the bottom of the planet screen. So this is the planet summary, and then down along the bottom there are several different categorical tabs that you can click between. We're only going to briefly just look at the population tab. We'll break this down in more depth, but you could see that here's the job screen, and it tells you that we've got workers, which are indicated on this triangle. They are the bottom part of the job pyramid, and they are the largest segment of the labor force. They're doing jobs like mining and being technicians or being clerks or farmers. Then you move up into specialists, who are in this middle tier, and then you have rulers at the very top. So this is important, not so much right now, and we'll look at it in more depth as we go, but it's just giving you a feel for how much depth and complexity are in this game. Now, what I think you want to know about this screen is that you can build your planet up. You can develop it and level it up, just like if I push one to close this, just like I'm building up our system by building stations everywhere and getting all the resources. You could build up your planet. And you can build new districts, or you can build buildings. Now, I can only build buildings if I have available slots. So you see these plus signs mean I have 2 available slots right here. And I can similarly only build districts if I have available boxes under the district section. So like this planet, Earth, has 5 available city district spaces, and 3 of them are filled in. I can build 2 more before I max out how many districts can be city districts. And I can build only 18 total. Now, if I move over here to generator districts, the yellow ones, you see that some of these are blocked with these like red lines, and that means even though there's some boxes here, some of them are filled in because I need to remove blockers to be able to take advantage of some space on our planet. And you can click on features in the middle of this planet screen to see the different blockers you have available. You can actually start like little projects to remove, like for example, these sprawling slums. We can just dig these out, and if we do this, if we get rid of these slums right here, it says this region is covered by vast shanty towns and slums filled with the poor and the outcast. If we clear these out, it's going to cost 300 energy credits to do that and take 120 time, but it will free a blocker from one of our districts, and it gives us an extra pop, which is a worker who could be doing something else. So that's actually pretty nice. We don't necessarily need to do that right now, but it would be a good idea. If you can't get rid of the blocker, then it will explain to you that you don't have the technology able to remove that blocker at the moment, and you would need to research that or develop it or whatever. So if I build a city district, it gives me +5 housing, which allows people to have a home, which, you know, that seems pretty important. You have to, if you have homeless people, they will be really unhappy. It creates like civil unrest, and it's a bad scene, and it could lead to all sorts of, you know, like a revolt or just bad business. So we want to give people houses. Now, how do you know if you have enough houses? Well, the easiest way is to look in the upper right of the planet screen, and you can get, at a glance, some information. And remember, green number is good, red number is not good. So right at the top, you see our stability. It's at 77%. That's kind of this like balancing beam here. And stability is a measure of the overall political stability of the planet. And you get it mostly from how happy people are. And there are other factors that play into stability. It could be like there's some rival political factions or whatever, but we're pretty stable. We're good. Things feel pretty stable right now. We're getting stability from jobs, from our trade value, from our approval rating. I'm sorry. We're getting the effects of more resources from jobs, more trade value, and more immigration because it's so stable. If you go into a non-stable situation, you could be penalized and worse. We're getting stability with a base 50. We get +5 because it's the capital, and we have an 87% approval rating, which gives us +22. So you take 50 +5 +22, and you get 77 for stability. Pretty good. Underneath that, it tells you totally we have 32 human population living here. Everybody's a human. We have pop 32. This number is our crime, 8%. Not great. We can do things to mitigate this, but this is not a huge issue at the moment. Now, as I said with housing, this is it right here. You want this number, the available housing, to always be positive so that if people move in, or your population grows, or whatever it is, you don't have homeless people. So we have 8 free housing, which is pretty good for right now. And then this is the amenities symbol, the musical notes with the comedy tragedy masks. And this is basically the resources people have available to them to make them happy. It says here it represents planetary infrastructure and jobs dedicated towards fulfilling the day-to-day needs of the population. So amenities could be like, you know, libraries and schools and parks and things that police, fire departments, roads, water, utilities, the stuff that people want to be living a comfortable life. And you need this to be positive for people to be happy. This is how many jobs are currently available. So there's one job free that somebody could be doing, which is an enforcer. So if we get another pop, then they will migrate into that job and become an enforcer, which will help our crime. By mousing over the available jobs, you could see there's a breakdown of all the jobs that people are doing, and it tells you like where you have free jobs, etc. This number, you want to be positive, but not too high. You kind of want to keep this in the 2, 3, 4, 5 range so that there's always jobs for people to do if your population grows. But you don't want this to be so high that it indicates you've built a lot of infrastructure and buildings for people to do jobs, but there's nobody to work those jobs. And if there's nobody to work the jobs that you've created, you still have to pay upkeep on those buildings, and you're just like losing money until people are there to do the jobs that you've created. So you just want to pay attention to this available job icon and keep this in that 2, 3, 4, 5 range. So we don't really want to produce a ton of jobs, but producing a few right now will be a good idea. And then this is our unemployment, which is 0, which is great. Nobody's unemployed. So we have enough amenities. We have housing. We have no unemployment. We have one free job. The stability is fine. And I think Earth looks pretty good. We don't want to build anything. We can't really build anything right now anyway because we don't have enough minerals. It's kind of expensive to upgrade this, but it gives you the idea that as you begin the game, you don't need to mess with this too much. That you can let this go unless you're absolutely, you know what you're doing and you want to min-max. Right now, this isn't our primary focus. I just feel like it's a good idea to explain this so you know what's going on. And again, we'll talk about certain elements of all of these screens and these panels when they come up contextually, but sometimes I want to paint with broad strokes just to give you a feel for what you're even seeing, because I don't know about you. I'm going to click the features button to hide that right panel. When I first saw this screen, I was like, dear God, what's happening? You know, and that's actually kind of my reaction to most screens in the game the first time I saw them. I was like, wait a minute, where do I go? What's going on? There's so many numbers. This is just really, really overwhelming. But I know this might sound wild. As you play the game, let me just speak for myself. I actually find it to be pretty easy to understand with some experience, and that they do a really, really good job presenting most things to you, providing transparency, and making it easy to find the information. Some stuff is a little suspiciously hidden, but for the most part, I think it's a pretty clean UI, given the complexity and depth that it's trying to navigate. Now, the only other things I want to briefly mention to you about this screen are that down here, where it says Planet Production, it tells you how many resources of each type that you're producing, and if you mouse over it, you get a huge breakdown of like every little bit of what you're getting, where you're getting it from, down to, you know, the 100th of the decimal column there. So lots of good information if you're ever curious about anything that's going on. Now I'm going to close this because we don't need to look at it right now. And I'm going to go back out to the galaxy map and unpause the game. So we got our first pop-up. As you play Stellaris, this is going to be your life. Screens are going to pop up at you when you get more information. And it's kind of like, again, overwhelming how many things are going to fly at you. But this is also what's so cool about this game, is that it's giving you a story-based experience. It's not just like an incredibly complicated board game, but rather it's a very well-balanced game, but then it has these great narrative elements that make your run feel personalized and alive, like you're exploring an actual universe or galaxy. And this tells you that we've discovered alien life in some capacity. So the UNS Einstein, which is the second science ship that we made, has made a startling find on Yab-Hanir 3. The planet is teeming with alien life. For the first time in history, we've encountered life forms that did not originate on Earth. This amazing discovery has silenced those who believed we were alone in the universe. Although none of the alien creatures found on Yab-Hanir 3 are sapient, it's likely only a matter of time before we encounter beings that are. So, it's not like, oh my god, we found sapient alien species, but it's like we found some kind of, microbial, bacterial, some life form, that gives us hope that there is life beyond just our own. And this is the first confirmation of that. So, when you mouse over this bottom button, don't click these right away. That was my first tendency when I played the game, was just to click it, be like, okay, cool, we may not be alone out here. But sometimes there will be more to it than just clicking it, even though there's only one option, which is that we get 250 society research points. So if I go over here and I go to the technology screen, and I go to, planetary unification, which we're researching, you could see this is our society research. We have 191 society points right now, research points, and we're just going to add 250 to that if we click this. And once we pause the game for a bit, this will just throw that number, should add right on to that, and, help us along with planetary unification. Or maybe it doesn't come all at once, or maybe maybe that's prorated or something. Anyway, we got a boost to our society research, whether or not that's easily quantifiable or not. So, contact report, planetary anomalia. The United Nations of Earth is abuzz with news of the alien life that was found. While hardly intelligent by human standards, the fascinating beings defy easy classification and hint at the immense complexities and possibilities of the universe. You often have these one-word responses to something monumentous like this, where you're like, I see, or interesting. It's kind of funny. But anyway, people on Earth are going to react to anything that's happening. Like, we make contact with aliens, or we find this or that. It has an impact on life on Earth, and that's another cool part why I like playing as the humans, is you can imagine, what if we did get news of this as we're out there exploring? Alright, we're going to say interesting and just keep moving time along. Habitable Worlds survey. Okay. So we now have our first event chain. At least I believe it. I'll check over here in the situation log to make sure it's our first one. But we have this event chain which says, we now know without a doubt that a thriving biosphere is not something unique to Earth. Both the scientific community and the public at large are eager to learn more about the various forms of alien life found throughout the galaxy. Efforts to catalog the life forms we encounter are already underway, but our xenobiologists have urged us to focus our planetary survey efforts on habitable, life-bearing worlds. So, luckily, we aren't done surveying worlds yet. I don't think so. We should. We won't get credit for this one, I don't believe, because we've already looked at it. But we might get credit over here. We'll find out. So, both of these, okay, you have two options. First, you could say this is a great idea and roll along with it. Or you could say, you know what, that's not really that big of a deal. Let's just not focus on that and get unity right up front. So we get 221 points of unity. We only have 175, so that's more than doubling what we've got. That's a lot of unity. But no, we want to do this. We want to survey as many worlds as possible. This is great. It's like a quest. So the game is giving us a little quest here, and if we complete this, there's going to be riches and rewards unlike anything. Well, it's just going to give us benefits. So we're going to say cool. Now, if we do that, we get something over in the situation log. So
situation log updated.
The situation log is not something that we've looked at so far because there was nothing in there. Now there are two things. This is kind of like, almost like a mix between your journal in an RPG and just ongoing events that need your attention that you can start if you want a reminder of what you found out there and what kinds of quests or little objective, like mini quests, you want to do. So we have, number one, the Habitable Worlds surveyed. Oh, cool, we did get credit, so we have 1 out of 8 done, and hopefully once we're done looking... Oh, no, never mind. I believe... Okay, this is how I'm understanding the timing of this. We already had this one done, so we didn't get credit for that. And then immediately, Sirius 3 has been surveyed, and we got credit for that. And that's why we have this second pop-up that just so happens to have occurred right when we opened the situation log. And you could tell it's been surveyed because there's no longer a question mark next to its habitability. So the continental world is 90% habitable, which is like an unbelievable match for humans. This is our number one target. This world, sadly, is red. Green good, red bad, right? And it's only 30% habitable for humans. We could live there, but people would be really upset about it. So we're not going to prioritize doing anything with that world right now. However, you could see that our science vessel is continuing to survey this system and has found, for example, 3 minerals there. And you could see those on the galaxy map. Now, we've got 1 out of 8, so we need to find 7 more habitable worlds. And we got this other situation log entry, which is the same as this Cybrex pop-up that just happened. And it's the event chain for the precursors, the Cybrex. We've rediscovered artifacts from an ancient alien civilization on Sirius 3. Incredibly, this civilization, which apparently referred to itself as the Cybrex, seems to have been made up of machines that were linked together in some sort of collective consciousness. The age of the artifacts indicate they were active some 600,000 years ago, in this portion of the galaxy at least, but we have learned nothing of their exact origins, according to a partial data fragment that our scientists managed to extract from one of the artifacts. The Cybrex at some point launched a crusade to destroy all sapient organic life in the galaxy for reasons unknown. Oh my goodness. So they tried to wipe out the galaxy. And I like how what we say to that is interesting. There's only one option, interesting. And now it has opened up this other entry in the situation log, which is like another quest. And we need to find 6 artifacts to make progress on this quest, per se. And I'm going to close the situation log. And now people are responding to the news of this ancient alien civilization that we found relics of. And it says, contact report remnants. Human xenologists are practically falling over themselves to publish their takes on the recent findings of alien life. This fevered storm in the scientific community has had some negative yet temporary impact on pursuits in other fields. So we say, remarkable. Everybody's focusing on how awesome this is. I'm going to pause the game. Now we found there's up to 9 minerals in this system, which is great. And we just get more and more information as we survey. Now our ship is done with construction, so I'm going to give it a job right away. This planet is amazing. We want to colonize it, but we can't until it's within our borders. So I want my ship to come over here. I'm going to right click on this system. I want it to build a starbase here. However, it can't build a starbase until we have surveyed this system fully. So I have to wait. That's why there's this red X, and it'll tell you why. So I'm just going to tell my ship to move there, so that as soon as it's done, we can go ahead and build that starbase right in there. Alright, so... Oh! Look at this. More activity happening. First contact protocols. Our recent encounter with alien life forms has reignited and made suddenly more urgent the old debate on how we should approach contacting any potentially intelligent alien civilizations we may meet. While some advocate focusing on establishing friendly relations as quickly as possible by contacting them with a message of peace. Others advise caution, pointing out that we cannot know whether alien minds bear ill intent toward us, and that it would be unwise to let them know too much about us before it's necessary. So this is kind of one of the major first decisions that you need to make after you've started the game, which is, what do we do if we meet aliens? How do you want to respond to that? Do you want to be xeno-friendly and greet them with open arms? Do you want to be cautious? Or do you want to, ward off and those who would threaten us? Now, this is an aggressive stance if you're aiming on destroying your neighbors. We're not aiming to do that. I'm actually thinking about either open arms or being cautious. And if you're cautious, it means that it's a little bit more difficult to learn more about the species that you meet, but it means that we can't attack neutral entities, and there's less possibility that negative events happen to us. Now, if we go open, we still can't attack neutral entities, and other empires will find it easier to establish communication with us. We get more influence with each first contact because we're trying to do that, and it speeds up our first contact, but it makes us susceptible to, ill actions by nefarious species that we may meet. So you could do either one. And let's just pretend like, we want to be open, but we're also a little bit potentially cautious. Now, it's worth mentioning that this protocol that we set is actually going to be something that becomes, not traditions, an element of our development, which are policies that we kind of enact that govern all sorts of behaviors, like, are we allowed to, enslave other aliens, and are we able to, how do we deal with warfare and starting war and such. So right now, our government, if I click on us, here's our ethics. We're xenophiles, which means that we like others, and we're egalitarian. So these are the ethics that govern us ideologically. So that would lend itself to probably one or two, but let's just take two right here so that we are wary, because we don't know who we're going to run into. Now, I will tell you, we can only change these policies, okay? I'm going to go to government right here, and I'm going to go to policies and edicts, just very briefly. We're not going to really look at this for too long, but these are all the different policies that we can set. And first contact protocol we've set, and I'm going to pause it. We've made it to be cautious, which is right in the middle. Now, if you want to change one of these things, you need to wait 10 years before you change any policies or edicts that you've set. So as you can see right here, if I wanted to be proactive, I would need to wait until 2211, 10 years from now, to make that happen. So you need to be careful if you tinker with this, because you can't make a change for 10 years. Now, 10 years actually passes more quickly than you'd think, but not all of these are going to be established with an event that pops up like that. That's just one where it's like, it's scripted, it's going to pop up, you have to make a decision about that. But a lot of the other ones, like, let's just say, for example, we want to talk about our trade policy or our economic policy. These are kind of set by default, and advanced players will come in here and right away, just like at the beginning of the game when we set all these different ships in motion, they will min-max all of this and tinker with this because they know what they're doing. But if you're a new player, like we are in this guide, we don't want to mess with this right now until it becomes important. That one we had to set, but I just wanted to explain where you could find this. And the policies and edicts live here in the government screen, just on the bottom in these third categorical tab. Okay, and let's see. We got a notification that we have enough unity to adopt a new tradition. One of the things you can do with Unity, and every resource has multiple things that you spend it on, is to buy traditions. And I'm going to click on this, and it opens up the tradition screen. And this also lives right here under Society Management. You can get to it by clicking on the Comedy Tragedy mask, or you can just, push F3. And you can see that we can get all these different slots, and they're all empty. So if I click on this one, say Select, so this opens up the Tradition Selection screen, which gives us 9 different options that we can choose to really give trajectory to our aims as an empire encountering other species in the galaxy. How do we want to play the game? How are we trying to win? What are our goals? What are our objectives? How do we want to tell the story of us? And, if you want to be warfare heavy, maybe you go for supremacy. Are you trying to grow and expand? Expansion seems good. Are you researching and exploring? Discovery. Do you want to meet other aliens and make friends? Diplomacy. Do you want to be able to adapt to live on and colonize, different worlds? Are you trying to make money or become prosperous? Are you trying to collectivize and grow unity? Or are you trying to be a political domineering force in the galaxy? These are all choices that you get to make in your game, but I will recommend that for us, we already talked about what our purpose is, what our animating kind of drive is. We want to discover, and we want to spread out, and we want to be peaceful and prosperous, make money, things like that. So given those desires, I'm thinking we should go into the discovery tradition first. Now, if you hover over this, it will make clear the tech tree that you get, which is basically all of these have 5 options that you eventually will unlock, and they cost increasing amounts of Unity as you go. But if you hover over the Adopt tab, it tells you that there are benefits for just adopting Discovery and benefits for finishing all of the nodes within the Discovery tree. So Discovery says our curiosity about the universe is what got us this far, and there's still so much left to discover. So this gives us an edict for mapping the stars that we can go through and pass or push as a government agenda. And then the anomaly research speed becomes increased by 20% if we do this. So whenever we find anomalies, it's faster, it's easier for us to do that. That's pretty good. But then we also get this benefit for science division, allowing us to have more scientists. Scientists start with more skill level, or we can boost how fast we survey things, and this will help us just learn more about what's around us. And I really want to do this right now, so I'm going to go ahead and go with discovery right away, and I'm going to say yes. And now you can see we've locked this in. We have 0 out of 5 nodes. We don't get one of these yet. We're just kind of committing and adopting this tree. Then once we get 343 Unity, you can see we spent the Unity to adopt this. We're at 9 now. Once we build this up to 343, we can then pick one of these that we want to unlock and get the benefits there. So now we have a tradition. So at this point, we have learned a little bit. This system has some juicy resources to exploit, and we're still surveying Sirius. We know this is a super habitable world. We want to live there. We've set our first contact policy over here in policies and edicts. I'm sorry, I misspoke earlier. Policies are 10 years. Edicts are things that we pass with Unity through our government and the council. And we will do that in a moment. We're not going to concern ourselves with it just this second. But these over here on the left are the policies, which are 10 years. The edicts are different. And we've set one policy, which is our first contact protocol, to cautious. And we're still probing and trying to find out who's out here. We've met some aliens, and in the situation log, you could see we got a couple of objectives that are long. These are going to take us a while to fulfill, but we're going to work towards those, among other things. as we expand our empire. Everyone, I hope you're still finding this series to be useful and fun. If you have any questions, please put those in the comments below. And if I made mistakes, please correct those as well if you're a Stellaris expert in a way that's beginner friendly. I would appreciate that, everyone, so much, and I will check you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Take care.